And we are on. Today, I'm very happy to welcome a musician and a coach and a podcast host competing with podcasters, Lora Kelley. Hi, Laura. How are you?
Hi, how are you? Nice to see you.
Thank you very much for joining today. I'm very happy that I got several press releases about your work, and you are with us today. First, I want to know about you start and your interest into music, and how did it start with you since your childhood?
Well, I think music is a natural expression for children. And so I hear a little bit of an echo on my end. So give me 1 second. I'm going to turn it down. Sorry.
Sure.
Okay. Thank you. Okay.
Yes.
So yeah, when I was young, I just have always loved singing. I've had such a sense of, I think when I came to my voice and when I came to music, in the way that it moves through the body and the way that it's experienced, I always felt really connected to singing. And so my first instrument that I ever played was my voice. And that was really nice because it's with me all the time. And then, so there's the aspect of voice, and then there's the lyricism and words and putting that together with melody. And I think that's been something I've discovered over time. I studied creative writing and loved poetry. And so the synergy of words with music and being able to sing and bring that to life has been something that I have developed from when I was young till now. Yeah.
Great. Tell me a little bit. The road you took from becoming like a music fan until you become a professional performer. Tell me a little bit about this transition. How did it happen to you?
Well, I'm trying to think about fan versus performer. And I think
Yes.
sometimes the best performers are fans. We all start with the appreciation of an artist. We start with the appreciation of what it takes for someone to bring their story to life, to do the work that it takes to connect with words, to connect with other people, to build a following, to be able to get their music out there. And so, I've been a fan of lots of different people. And at the same time, I was, engaging with my own heart, engaging with my own body, engaging with my own story around music. And so those two things just sort of dovetailed. And then I am a mother. I also have my job as a coach. And so doing music blends so beautifully with the work that I do with trauma. And so transitioning from a fan into a performer really was the transition of me being with my own story and learning how to bring that story to light and to share that with other people and using music as a conduit for that. So that's been a little bit of my process.
I remember when I was a child, I used to watch a lot of television series taking place in Virginia and farms and stuff like that. And so tell me a little bit about growing up in Virginia with the nature and the animals. How did this environment shape your creativity?
Well, so I live in Virginia now, but I actually grew up in Houston, Texas, which is
Yes.
very different than
Yes.
than Virginia. And the place that I grew up is called Katy, Texas, and it's right outside of Houston.
Yes.
It's very flat, it's very hot, and it has a totally different vibe than Virginia. But I think being in Texas, there's an energy. In Houston, there's an aliveness that happens because it is such a diverse and energetic space. And so that was really informative to me. I had a lot of exposure to lots of different cultures, lots of different people, and it's very big, lots and lots and lots of people, lots of movement. And so that was really impactful for me coming through. And also a lot of Americana influence, a lot of country music, singer-songwriter influence. And then, moving to Virginia and being right now we lived on a conserved farm in North Garden, Virginia. And It's very beautiful. It's very restful. It's a sanctuary space we've created for our family. And I think being in an environment like that really helps your body feel into itself and allow for a sense of safety to be able to share vulnerably around what you're experiencing. So both of those spaces have impacted my development as a person and as a artist and writer and caregiver.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to speak to you about your coaching work, but first, I would like to know about uh, the music you present, the songs you present. I don't want to put words, but I want to know the message and the feelings you would like to convey throughout your lyrics and music. What do you like to how do you like to communicate with your audience?
Well, for this project, I think that my main goal for this record was really to write from a place that allowed me to just meet with whatever was coming. I think the music that I've written up until this point, I love all of my songs, and I love all the process of developing as an artist, learning new things. But I put a lot of pressure on myself when I first got started to write a certain way and to bring certain songs and to, thinking it had to sound a certain way or it needed to appeal to people. And so I was writing from a perspective of trying to draw something out of myself that was meeting with what I thought of as a standard for how music ought to sound or how it should be written or whatever. And all of that's good. I think it can be really good to notice what's happening out there in the world. And I think the example I'll give is like with painting. It's really good to learn how to paint in a modality. It's really good to learn how to paint in a style, to learn the rules, to learn all of these things. And then at some point you have to lean back into yourself and begin to feel, well, what is my way of bringing this? How, if I'm in my body and I'm writing from what's being offered to me, how would I bring that? And so this record was really me just meeting with my experiences as they came and really allowing the songs to come forward as I was moving through time and space. I didn't do a lot of editing. I didn't do a lot of critiquing. I was really mindful just to allow whatever was there to be there. And so my hope is that it translates from me to whoever is listening, that it meets with someone who wants to feel like they're in the presence of a song that came straight out of a person's experience and moved through a lot of different feelings as I was writing this record. And my hope is that each of those feelings is conveyed. And also that I think the beautiful thing about music and the beautiful thing about songs is that when you write them, I'm writing it from myself, but when they go out into the world, they become something else and they become someone else's experience, and their story then begins to intersect with the words and with the music and with the arc of the record in a way that I can't anticipate because I don't know everyone's story. And so I feel excited for the opportunity to be able to bump into other people's stories and have their stories come to life for them a little bit more.
Yes. Yes, I started to read a bit about your past work, and I see that you wrote a song called "Waking Dream." You wrote it during the pandemic, and as well, it was related a little bit to some personal stories. So, what can you tell us about it?
Yeah. So, "Waking Dream," I wrote. My husband is an event photographer, and he obviously during the pandemic, we were all sheltering in place and there were not events happening. And so with event photography, there is sort of a 2-year process of working with clients. And that means that during the year, prior to the pandemic, you book work for the wedding that's going to happen during the year that the pandemic had. And then during the year of the pandemic, you presumably would be booking clients that you would be working with for the next year. Unfortunately, none of us really knew how the pandemic was going to go. And so the event industry was highly, highly impacted by sheltering in place, as it would be. And so we just watched all of our work evaporate. And at the same time, I had a 12-week-old baby. I had a baby December 31st. So happy New Year's, baby. And so she was 12 weeks old when the pandemic hit. And we were just in a state of, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? How are we going to orient ourselves to this new reality and to the impacts of this and what it means for us to reschedule or have things canceled, to not basically have work and to not know when work will return, when would people be allowed to gather again? And just a lot of anxiety around what that was going to look like. And so we pivoted very quickly, and my husband started doing garden boxes, and we sold herbs off our porch. And of course, many people were doing lots of things. Everyone had a really dynamic experience of the pandemic. And so I'm just, of course, speaking to our experience. And, our kids came home, and I was breastfeeding, and I'm nursing my baby while I'm doing math homework at our kitchen table, trying to walk people through different arithmetic. But anyway, the point being that we realized that what the life that we were currently living was not going to be the life that we were going to be able to live for the next year. And so we made some pretty dynamic decisions, and we sold our house and we moved in with my mom. And I woke up one morning after we had been living we were staying in the upstairs bedroom at her house, and my baby was with me. And I woke up, and I just for a moment thought I was back in time. I just had this sense of like, where am I? Feeling very disoriented and realizing, oh my goodness, for so many of us, the lives that we had prior to the pandemic, they don't exist anymore. Many people made some pretty big shifts. They moved, they changed jobs. We just had a whole somatic experience of the pandemic. It was very impactful. And so I could just feel that there was a split in time happening for me and happening for the world, where there was a time that existed prior to the pandemic, and there was going to be a time that existed after. And this sense of only being able to revisit what existed before in these moments between when I was waking up and when I was fully awake. And so that's a little bit about what that story was, or that song was conveying for me in the moment that I was writing it.
Great. But right now, I see that you're planning a new record and started by releasing a new single called Man Behind the Curtain. So tell me a little bit about the story behind the song and, the style you have chosen for its music and what does it present for you.
Yeah, so I in the world and in our existence with people, as people, obviously we are in relationships with one another, and I work with a lot of trauma. I work with different kinds of abuse, and many times the experience is this sense when you've had experiences of abuse, or you've had different kinds of developmental trauma where it's in your family of origin. You might have parents that or siblings, lots of different experiences within developmental trauma. And as you begin to notice, as you're moving through the healing journey, sometimes what can happen is you begin to notice that you've been impacted. And you begin to notice that people that you thought were supposed to care for you, parents, other people in your life, sometimes you can get this sense of, oh my gosh, they weren't who they said they were. The experience I had from them is different than what I'm beginning to realize was good for me. And that experience of coming into an awareness around those things can feel very disorienting. And you can almost feel like, can I trust anything? I think this happens a lot when you have betrayal, or when you've been in a narcissistic, abusive relationship and you have been drawn into a relationship with someone. Maybe they were really kind at first, maybe they were really loving. And then more you get into the relationship, it begins to be something where you get smaller and smaller and less. And then a lot of times sometimes hopefully people are able to break free from that, and they begin a process of recovery. And you just ask yourself, like, what happened? How did I get into this relationship? How did I get into this space? And what was mine? What was good about this? What will I have to leave behind when, if I decide to heal from this? What can I keep? What was real? And so there's a disorientation for those kinds of dynamics. And the story, I took it from the perspective of Dorothy, what it must have been like for her to realize that this person that she believed could help her, that really all of Oz believed could help her, is not a person who can help her. And in fact, everything about this person has been mythologized, and she spent a lot of time moving down this road to get to this place to be able to go home. And it's not something he can actually do. And yet on the journey, she meets all of these beautiful friends. She has this really dynamic experience. So how does she hold both things at the same time? The fact that there is a pretty distinct betrayal and a disorientation around who this person actually is, and all of this goodness that she's developed as she's moved through. And I think that can apply to a lot of people's experience. And so that's a little bit of what this song holds as I wrote it.
Yes. Yeah, so follow the yellow big road.
Yeah. It's a great story. It's an allegory. There's lots of parts to the Wizard of Oz and lots of things that can be drawn out from it. And I felt heartbroken for Dorothy. I just thought, oh, that had to have been a really shocking, jarring experience to be like, oh man, I've done all of this work to get here to be able to go home, and you can't actually take me there.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I want to know about your podcast. Where can people hear it? On which platform? Its name. What subject you try to tackle there as well?
So I work with people, and I do narrative-focused trauma care or story work. And my process is helping people begin to understand the impact of their story, to be able to actually write it in a narrative form, to bring it in, to have it engaged, and to begin to understand a little bit about what the impact of their story might be on their life and how to heal from some of that impact. And so my podcast, right now there's 12 episodes, and it spans over the 5 stages of healing through story, and sort of walks people through what the experience is like to begin to notice, oh, something isn't quite right in my life. It's not quite working. And I noticed that I might need some help. I noticed that I might need some support for the impact of my story. And then to begin to engage in sort of what people might be able to experience, or what they can expect to experience as they move through the process of healing and engaging their story. And so that is a little bit about what my podcast is. And it also includes interviews from people who have engaged story or have worked through their own story, and invites people to consider different ways that they might come to this work and to be able to support themselves, their bodies, their minds, their hearts, their lives. Yeah.
Very nice. Yes, I think hearing your voice will make them very as well feel better as well. Yes. So I want to ask you. You told me right now about your work as a trauma-informed coach, and through the podcast as well. Tell me, do you think there are parallels between the healing journey you try to bring to people and your songwriting process, your lyrics as well?
Oh, sorry. Would you ask that one more time? I missed what you said.
Yes, I was asking if there any parallel between your songwriting process and your work as a coach as well, and trying to help people through healing and trauma so that they can overcome their trauma.
I think there is a parallel process. I think everyone is an artist. I think everyone has creative capacities. Everyone has things that they want to bring and offer to the world. And we are made for delight. We're made for connection. We're made for beauty. We're made for pleasure. We're made for enjoyment of one another and to feel that robustly. And what happens in trauma is that what we're made for gets shattered, it gets impacted, it gets sort of like there's this sense of we're going this direction, and then there's this offshoot. And what was available to you and the natural flow and the natural energy and the natural goodness of our hearts and how we might move with each other gets sent off into this disoriented space, and it becomes shattered. And then there becomes this process of what you do after something like that happens, after you've experienced pain or you've had rupture in your life in dynamic and powerful ways. And then what do you do with that? And engaging your story and beginning to heal from that is learning to hold, learning to tend the wounds of that impact, and to begin to heal that so that there is a return to that capacity to be connected, the capacity to create, to be able to bring your artistry to life, to be able to bring your goodness, your connection, your desire for your aliveness really into the world, and to be able to share that. And so for me, as I've engaged my story, part of what's become more available to me is my desire to write, my desire to create, my capacity to write music in a way that actually feels good to me, to be able to share it without less embarrassment and shame and this sort of sense of inadequacy or fear. And just to say, this is me, like, this is my life. This is the one life I get. And this is my opportunity to be with it. And I want to offer it to other people. And so, as I've done my own healing work, it's made this record possible for me to be able to write it, to even be able to get close to some of these tender places, and then to be able to feel sturdy enough to offer that vulnerability to others. I think sometimes too, and I hope at some point I get to write a book, but a lot of times people bring their practice or their skills, their expertise to light in a written form, and they put it into a book or they write it in a podcast, and then they offer that out to the world. And for me, I think that my journey in this record is a little bit like me having written a book. It's taken me, 6 years. This record spans about 6 years from the first song to the last song. And that's the degree of creative process and time and energy that in all of the healing I've done as I've written these songs. Some of them couldn't exist until year 3, year 4, year 5. And so that's sort of how I see it paralleling. And I hope that for people who have had experiences where they have felt disoriented and they are moving through grief, they're moving through ambiguous loss, that this record is able to provide some resonance and some comfort, and also a sense of being seen and feeling like they belong, that there's others out there that have navigated this path and have lived and learned how to thrive, holding all the parts of themselves. So.
Great. So, Laura, since you have your guitar, can we hear a little bit of your new song?
Yes, I would love to share it with you. Thank you. All right. Is that coming through okay for you?
Yes.
Were you the man behind the curtain this whole time? Was I just the kind of girl you had in mind? Did I walk this yellow road with the hope of a home I'll never find? 'Cause you were the man behind the curtain this whole time. If you were, was I fool to believe you? And if you were, is it even worth grieving? If you were and I was wrong, how will I get home tonight? When you were the man behind the curtain this whole time. the shoes I'm walking in, even mine. Can I wear them when I get to the other side? How I walk this yellow road, starry-eyed but blind. Are the shoes I'm walking in, even mine? Am I a fool to want to keep them? And if they're not, why do I even want to grieve them? If they're not and I was wrong, how will I get home tonight? And the shoes I'm walking in aren't even mine. Ooh. What do I do with the friends that I've gained? This courage that I found along with my heart and my brain. At the end of this yellow road, will I have to leave them all behind just to keep the man behind the curtain satisfied? If I go back, will it all be black and white? Did I bring the color? Was it you who made me shine? When I this yellow road, wake up to find that it was a man behind the curtain this whole time. If you were, was I a fool to believe you? And if you were, is it even worth it to grieve you? If you were and I was wrong, how will I get home tonight? You were the man behind the curtain this whole time. Since you were and I was wrong, there's no place like home tonight. Far away from the man behind the curtain in his own mind. You were just a man behind the curtain this whole time.
Bravo. Bravo.
Oh my God!
Thank you very much.
That's the first time I've gotten to play that live, so I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Laura, I want to know right now, because you have a record coming up in the next couple of months. So, of course, you know that the music industry changed a lot. And I would like to know, what do you plan to promote the new record?
Oh my goodness. I'm on, obviously on all the streaming platforms. And so that's the best way you can find my music. I'm also on Instagram, so you can find me on Instagram. And then I am doing a live show, and the band on this record is actually coming up from Nashville to do a live show at the Southern on November 7th. And that is coming up, and you can get tickets and you can come to the show. It's going to be an amazing show. We're going to play the whole record top to bottom with this truly the most amazing band. And the person who produced the record, he's going to come help produce the show. So it's going to be really fun. So that's the way you can engage with my music, is on all the streaming platforms you might want to be on, and come see the show live in Charlottesville, Virginia on November 7th. We are going to have a great time. Yeah.
You a lot for the record and the singles, and I wish you all the best in promoting the album and the tour as well. And I hope when you have a new project, you can come back and talk to us about it soon. Maybe you can we can make a live with you during your tour.
I would love to come back and play again. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here with you to talk about music and to get to play. So thank you so much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. It was a pleasure for me. I want to thank you again, and I will be looking forward for your upcoming events, and I hope you can come back again as well when the album is up.
Thank you. So nice to see you.
Thank you. Take care. Have a lovely
Thank
evening.
you.
Take care.
You too. All right. Bye.